Today, I'm going to be talking about how you can improve your game as a rugby player. And the simplest way I think about it. This season, I used this sort of system to increase or improve my game. And it helped a lot. So, let's get straight to it. When you play good in a game, you have an impact on the game. So that's why. And then the more good impacts you have in a game, the better you play, right? And then the more bad impacts you have in a game, then the worse you play. So I broke it up into two things, which is impact and frequency. So impact is going to be things that you do to impact the game. So I went carries, tackles, kicks, rucks. It could be anything, etc. Like, the list goes down. So whatever you do to positively impact the game, maybe it's a scrum, whatever, right? There's things you do in the game, whatever position you play, that impacts the game in a positive or negative way. You've got to find out what you do. Frequency is how many times that's done. So how many times you impact the game. So how many times you carry, whether it's good or bad. How many times you tackle, good or bad. How many missed tackles you make. How many good tackles you make. Frequency, right? So you have the impacts, write them down. Like, this is kind of a statistic way to look at it. You have the impacts, write them down. Then you count how many times you've done them in the game. Now, when you got your stats of a game, and you look at them, you say, okay, carries I had this much, and I did this many times. And also, with the carries, the impacts, right? Every impact that I had this game, I had a tier system. So, I will put that up in here. If you watched my earlier videos, I used to tier system my carries, my tackles, and I think I started doing rucks as well. I had a tier system of like D rank to S rank of how effective the impact was. So let's say it's 14 carries, I had one S rank carry, 3 A carries, B carries, C carries, like 5, whatever. And then what you do then is you got to look to improve them. So I'll talk about how to improve the impact. So let's say I'm getting very poor tackles. How do I improve the impact of my tackles? Let's say my tackles are getting D rank. I obviously watch the film of when I was tackling and I break it down and I see what I was doing wrong and I compare it to good tackling videos. And this is where you kind of got to have that like attention to detail when you study things and look at and kind of create your own hypothesis of why things work and why things don't work. So you look at maybe the top Super Rugby players who are tackling. What do they do? What's their technique? And then that's why I wrote film study with the arrow, because it's film study and then you learn the technique off the film study from top players, yourself from correcting your bad technique. And then you practice that technique or that hypothesis that you made. So one of the things that I learned this season when I was making missed tackles is because I was having good line speed, but my feet were going in front of me, which means I have no power driving forward, which means the attacker comes behind me and we're sitting back. Whereas if I keep my feet behind me the whole time and I'm leaning forward, for example, I don't know if you can see this, but let's say this is my feet and I'm going this and I got my feet behind my chest. The force, my feet are pushing that way. Whereas if it's like this and I'm kind of just sitting back, my arms out like like that, you're gonna fucking sit back. Someone's gonna sit you back. So that's what I learned just from my film study and doing that, and I found it to be better. And there's obviously other things with carries, etc., and all these things, but you gotta. I did that by watching film and then practicing it through technique. And so once you get that technique and you find out your hypothesis of how something works, it might not work as well. If it doesn't work, you scrap it and go on to the next one. But you practice that technique over and over and over again, and that's how it becomes instinct, and that's how you improve one of your impacts, whatever impact it may be. I just gave you an example for tackling. And then there's also S&C. You might be weak, so something weak might be, maybe if you're a scrummer, you're not scrumming strong enough. You need to get stronger. And there's probably other things to. I wrote ETC because I couldn't really think of anything else to improve your impact, but that's what I've been doing so far. Just film study something that I'm doing wrong, whatever, figure out how to do it through technique, practice the technique. Now let's say we're having S-rank carries, S-rank tackles, but we're only doing like 3 of them a game. Alright? You then have to, let's also add film study here as well, because I think film study is important. You have to find out why. Alright? Is it a fitness problem? Okay. Is fitness why you're not doing them enough? Or is it a game IQ problem? Is it something in the game that you're misunderstanding to put yourself in position, like positional awareness, get your involvement in the field? Is it that's keeping your frequency low? That's why you have to film study. Right? Why am I here? Where should I have been? What do the top players do? How do they get involved? How do they get crazy stats and whatnot? And then you do that, and then you kind of get an instinct for the game once you start doing this and combining all of that. So yeah, to conclude again, look at your impacts, whatever they may be. Increase the quality of your impacts through this, and then increase the frequency of your impacts, and basically you'll be playing way better. And this, following this, makes it like you don't feel hopeless after it. Like, let's say you play a shit game, you're like, fuck man, like I don't know if I'm gonna get better. Like, this literally is just how you get better. It's just like it makes it seem possible to just be the greatest, because you just have a easy system of like, okay, impacts, okay, oh, I'll do this and I increase this. Everything can be broken down, and you just got to think about it like this, and that's how you increase the game, increase your performance in your games. So I did that a lot at the start of the season. After I got injured, obviously I couldn't do it anymore because I wasn't playing, but then towards the end of the season I didn't do it. I had like 3 games left, I didn't do it, but I probably should have done it. I was on a bandage anyway. But start of the season I did find it helped like a lot, and helped me understand where I was lacking, and it made me confident going into games. So just to double down on the clarity, alright? I'm gonna walk you through my process of how I would improve my carries. Okay, so let's go carries, right? Let's say in the game, so first I would count how much carries I have. In the game, I had, let's go 9 carries. It's quite low. Forward. I had 9 carries. Right? Now, I'm like, okay, I need to understand the impact I had on each of these carries that I had. So what do? I have my tier system. I can't even write tier system. So tier, and let's just go. We'll rank them weirdly. So we'll go A, B, C. My tier system is more intricate than that, but we'll just for the example, we'll go like that. So let's say I had, 2 A carries, dominant carries. I had about 5 average carries, All right, will be ranked. You'll decide what your tier system will be. I've put mine in the video, and you can make it as intricate as possible. Whatever. And then 2 plus 5, 7. So that leaves 2 more. So then 2 C carries. So now we understand our impact. So that equals your impact right there. Okay. So 2, 2, 2. So now you're going. Okay. You're like, okay. So I've had 9 carries. That's the frequency. Okay. And my quality of the impact was 2, 5, and 2. Now the first thing I look to improve is usually, what do? I usually go, so I go 9, let's say 9 carries, boom, 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 2, 5, 2. So currently, right, at this stage, let's say you don't try and improve your impact. You average, so for every 9 carries, you get about 5, let's just assume you get 5 average carries, 2 shit carries, 2 good carries. So if you increase the frequency, let's say double it, 18, you'll get 4 good carries, 10 average carries, and 4 bad carries. All right. So that's why having a high frequency is good, because you can understand how much you actually impact the game on an average. So I usually like to stick into the carries or the impact first. So I'm like, okay, what exactly happened? Why did I get 2 good carries? And I look at what I did. I'm like, okay. And I really try to understand, what did the defense do in this moment, and how did I react, and how did I make an impact in that situation? Did I step? Did I bump? What was the technique I used? You know? And then I compare it to the B carries. What position on the field? Like, there's all these different aspects you got to ask yourself and try, and all these little variables. It's science. Do you know what I mean? There's all these little variables, and you gotta. And sometimes you might choose the wrong one, but as you go on and you do this over and over again, you learn, and you'll see repetitive patterns. And then the same goes with the C one. Like, what did you do wrong? What happened here? Why did you get fucked up? Whatever. And then once you've done that, and you've come up with your hypothesis and stuff, then you'll have like a training goal for the week, right? So mine would be, and your training goal is to help you improve this impact. So it'll be like, do this, let's say, let's say for the C, for the bad carries, you carry too high. But that's just a broad example. Carry too high. So for training, you're going to be like, carries, we're going to do carries this week, and we're going to do, you can decide how many reps you want to do, but let's just say, for example, just after training, you maybe do 10 reps. This is very low, whatever. 10 reps, carry into contact. Working on fixing that thing that you did wrong. And the same thing goes for the good stuff. Maybe you practice that more, right? And you know that, and you kind of train yourself into doing the good actions more and the bad actions less. And then as you go on, and then you look at, okay, and the frequency, how can I increase my amount of carries? So then, like I was saying before, where was I in the game? So do I need to support more? Do I need to understand my position and know that, okay, I don't have to be there, I can actually involve here? Or maybe you need to just get fit. So then for the training week, you're looking at practicing. If it was a IQ problem, you practice your positional understanding, whatever, right? In that training. And if it wasn't, this is to improve the frequency, by the way. And if it wasn't, then you got to practice your fitness. You got to get fitter. Oh my gosh, look at that! Look at that handwriting. You got to get fitter. So you got to figure out what you're doing wrong, and this is all by film study, right? Watch that film. So you improve. This is like a, I love this stuff, because then you can just always improve. And then after that, let's say the next week when you carries. Wait, can the camera see this? Actually, no, let's just rub out the. So next week, boom, you've increased to 12 carries. You've got 4A. Well done. Put 1 here. And 4 plus 1 is 5. And you've got. No, let's just say 0. You got 0 bad carries and fucking 8 average carries. Boom. That's better than last week. Okay? And you just keep improving that every week. Count your impacts. Tier them. Watch film to see how to improve the impact. You got to do that yourself. Alright? You can come up with a bunch of theories, whatever. But it's all about pattern recognition and looking at what works and what doesn't work. See how to do that more times in a game. And then during the week, practice improving the impact and capability of doing it over and over and over again. And you will get better. Does it make sense? I hope that makes sense. Because that's how I improved this season. So, and that's, yeah, it's all a science, mate. You just break down the stats and look at everything. Look at all the cogs and the churn. And then obviously the last thing I want to say is you need extreme hunger to do this. All right, you want to be hungry about this. If you do this preparation and this work off the field and stuff, you'll come so confident on Saturday. Like, you won't have to like even G yourself up. It's just, you've done it so many times. You kind of like, you don't really doubt anything. And then once you make mistakes in games, once you have this process and you make mistakes in games, you don't even give a fuck. Like, you're just like, all right, well, you kind of just leak, because you kind of know you're going to improve. Like, you kind of know that, oh, okay, I sort that mistakes after the game. And whatever. You don't really think about it because you're just so prepared. And you're just, yeah, do you know what I mean? And yeah, you just gotta. I think preparation is important. And this is really high tier preparation, high quality. I only started doing this year. I never used to do this when I played rugby when I was younger. And I think you can kind of look at like all things in your life this way, just breaking down every single aspect and looking at why this doesn't work. Whatever. So you need to just take this stuff seriously, and you won't have to worry about being like, oh, I need to G myself, let's fucking play. No, you're playing, bro. You're playing by instinct, bro, because you're training it, and your body just knows, and you just become a weapon. You're calm, collected, but you're still a weapon, bro. That's straight samurai shit, bro. So get that done. 64